I tried to do everything. That was Kirby Smart talking about his time as a younger head coach. He was on Paul Feinbaum's show a couple weeks ago, and this is how you can tell he's gotten better as a head coach. Well, there's obvious signs, right? I mean, you already see the national championships. To be honest with you, the just winning the SEC championship a year ago, 6 months ago, whatever it was, that was an indication that Kirby Smart had really grown as well. That was such a challenging season in 2024 on a lot of different levels. But in his first, I remember 2016. It was that was a difficult year on a lot of different levels. Okay, you had a brand new coach who had never been a head coach before, and for all of his learning at Alabama under Nick, his time at Georgia, his time in the NFL, his time with Nick in Louisiana. When it's your turn, when it's not your turn so much as it's when people have gone out and gotten you to bring their program to national championship status, there's pressure that comes with that. And Kirby had a lot of that in 2016. In addition, in 2016, you had Kirby Smart dealing with some stuff that Mark Richt did not, which was busing every single day from Budsmere to a secluded practice facility off Millage, way in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so every single week, you're talking about going to practice 4 and 5 days a week, getting on buses, like you're having to get taped. You're having to, you're putting bicycles on trucks and getting them out there. It just wasn't ideal. And then that season, you started the year with a game against North Carolina, and your starting quarterback was going to be Jacob Eason, and they went with Grayson Lambert right at the end, right before the game, a couple of days or whatever it was before the game, and it. And then they had to get through the year with Jacob learning on the fly too. You had a freshman quarterback that was your starting quarterback. You had a brand new head coach, and you had a team that had to grow along the way. And he's saying here, I try to do everything. I was talking with somebody, and I can't remember when we were talking. I think it was probably in 19. I think it was in 19. And this person was right there with Kirby along the way every day. And he said that what Kirby did in year one was he listened to everybody about everything. Like, I don't even know what the best example is. Let's just say Georgia was using blue Powerade. He kept using the blue Powerade. He probably wanted to use the red Powerade, but he went with the blue. That's a simplistic way of putting it. But then by this, about 12 months into it, he said, okay, I've learned a lot this first year. I want to do it the way that I know I can succeed. And that's what you saw in year two. You saw a lot of things that were better. You saw the quarterback play be simplified. You did not have Jacob Eason in there trying to win games for you. You had Jake Fromm managing situations. You had an offensive line that was drastically better than it was in 16 and 17. You had running backs that were complete freaks, but they had that along the way. And then they added DeAndre Swift. But it was Kirby's always, if you talk to people in and around the situation, the thing that he really values a lot that we all value it, but I think he puts a big emphasis on it is time management. That was something that immediately people who had been around Georgia for decades, most of the people that I know at Georgia have been around for a very long time at this point, which says something about me too, I guess. But the time management was something that really, I think, was new in a way that that was something he was very definitive about. And essentially this is me saying it. I mean, there was essentially a clock on things. Like, we're not going to sit around and bullshit for a long period of time. That was not going to happen. One thing that you should make happen, we've got a buy 1 month of Dawg Post, get 2 free, and you get our 2025 season preview. Make sure you're taking advantage of this. We don't have this offer forever. Anyway, you buy 1 month, you get 3 months for free. So it's June 8th. You go all the way this June to July, July to August, August to September. So you're getting a week into the season. I'd go ahead and take advantage of that. I'll put that link down below. Take advantage of that while you can. But I remember 16, and it really, I think, to me, there's a lot of moments where Georgia, in that 16 season, I remember Jim Chaney talking with Jacob on the sideline at Florida. I remember them, I remember the Hurricane game against South Carolina. Hurricane Matthew, I think it was, in 2016. It's the only game on Sunday I think Georgia's ever played. It may not be ever, but there's not been a lot of them. Regular season is probably the only time they've ever played. Certainly the last 7 decades. But it was not the Auburn game where the team grew up. It was at Kentucky, that cold, blistery night in Lexington in November. That game, to refresh your memory, was just after Georgia had played Florida. And, they went into the game with the Gators. Had they won that game and won out, I think they had a chance to still win the SEC East. It was not a big chance, but there was a chance if they had beaten the Gators. And it would have been like a 3-way tie or whatever it was. Because Florida went on to go win the conference that year. I think they went on to win the division that year, not the conference. But they were 6-2 in the league. Tennessee in conference play that year wound up 4-4. So if Georgia had been 5-3, tied with the Gators, they win that game. Even losing to Tennessee, even losing to Ole Miss, and the upset to Vanderbilt, they still would have won the division in Kirby's first year. But they could not score because the offense was so anemic that first season. It was a week later, okay, at night in Lexington. And you always got to strap it on real tight when you go up to Lexington at night, in particular, anytime. But at night, you'd better be ready. It's like a snake pit. I mean, South Carolina's tough to play at. Auburn's tough to play at. Obviously, Tennessee and all the other big places. Kentucky is probably the least. It is the most. It is the least respected of the most difficult places to play. It's a hard place to play for Georgia, particularly. The Cats are very difficult at Commonwealth. Georgia drove the field to win the game on Jacob Easton's arm, and it was just, they grew up, and then a week after that they stunned Auburn at home, and you could see. To me, that's where the program changed completely. It just, on a dime, it essentially. They went from the capability of winning the SEC East against Florida to, we might not go to a bowl game if we lose to Kentucky, because they had Auburn the week after that. And you were looking at, you didn't know what happened. Now, they lost to Tech. That was a pretty shocking loss. That shouldn't have happened. But it did. But that Kentucky game, from that Kentucky game until the Alabama National Championship in 2017, that game, I mean, Georgia lost twice. Once to Georgia Tech and once to Auburn. I mean, they really turned things around when they got back from Jacksonville. And it was that night where you could really, first of all, see it if you were there on the field after the game. And then that was a Rodrigo Blankenship kick to win the game. Rodrigo had come on. But the growth of Kirby, there's no, from 16 till now, you're going into the 10th season. I think he's, all coaches still get out. I mean, like, he got out coached by Marcus Freeman against Notre Dame. You're going to get, that happens when you're dealing with other coaches that are really good. But in terms of program, I don't know that there's a better program in the country. I mean, you're talking about Ohio State and Texas. If you want to say, Alabama or I mean, it's not Michigan. Oregon. I mean, Georgia beat them by 100 not that long ago, or whatever it was. So I think what happened was he took the season of learning, which was 16, and he took it from there. And I think in 16 you had a lot that he learned about quarterbacks. It was one of the seasons where he started multiple quarterbacks in a season, and that has happened more than you'd like at Georgia, to be honest. He had injuries to deal with. He had all of the learning experiences that came along through that year allowed for growth. And I think it's hard to climb stairs without getting past the first one. You have to climb the first stair. But um, that first season, he's saying, I try to do everything. I bet he would have been overwhelmed had he started his coaching career in the midst of what we just dealt with in college sports. Let's take a look at this decade alone. In 2020, you had COVID. In 21, you had the beginning of NIL. Soon thereafter, you had the transfer portal. And in 24, you had the addition of Texas and Oklahoma into the SEC. From 2016 to 2019, not only did you not have any of those things, but there were really no. You had the expansion of the college football playoff. There were no seismic shifts. I think it would have been challenging for Kirby to start his career now in a way that it wasn't in 16. And I think that's the hard part for the new coaches out there is the brand that is Georgia is always going to be there, but or the if you're like I don't know who's starting new this year. Whoever the next head coach at LSU is, or the next head coach at Florida, or any of these schools. Well, you see Alabama. I mean, Alabama's a good example, and he was replacing an absolute legend. Those are hard things to come by and deal with. But I think that you know I'll round up. 50-year-old Kirby is more ready for what is today and what was really than 40-year-old Kirby would have been. And you know, that's to borrow a phrase from Nick Saban, it is what it is. Hey, thanks for watching.